Happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the black kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
But that following year, 1995, Newsradio debuts on NBC. The episode is titled Pilot, aptly named. Dave Nelson begins his new job as WNYX News Director, but first he has to fire his predecessor.
I mean, this is honestly, if you think about it, the boss, Mr. James, he seems like aloof, but he might be a genius level business, like, not owner. He's just like into business, because it's a great way to train the new boss of your company. Like, see if this guy's a pussy or not, you know?
Yeah, very calculated, but at the same time, not calculated. And I don't know how close you are to this show, but like while I was reading up on it, man, he started off this way, but by the end of the series, I guess he's kind of like a stumbly, fumbly boss.
That's kind of how I remembered him. So, but
Yeah.
in this, he kind of is that way too. He seems like he just doesn't give a fuck, you know? But that guy, the guy who plays Mr. James, is such a badass actor. He's been in so many
Stephen
movies.
Root.
Yeah, he's so cool. He's great at playing dramatic stuff, and he's very good at like comedy, as we've seen throughout the years too. And like Office Space, he's in Dodgeball. I mean, we keep going. He's in everything. But I like this show. This is a funny one to watch because, Joe Rogan is not in this. He hasn't been cast, obviously, because his part's played by some guy who I have no idea. It's clearly just like a stand-in for, only because I've listened to stuff about Joe Rogan and I know kind of like the background. I think Ray Romano actually had his part before he got it, but Ray Romano got fired and he got the part, but I guess the guy playing the maintenance dude in this was just, they're like, we need a guy for a week. Fuck it. Come on in.
One of those big what ifs, man. And, I didn't watch this growing up, but I find it interesting in hindsight because of, how everyone's career has grown, man. Like, who would have thought that same technician guy would go on to be one of the most, like, richest guys in broadcasting? I mean, podcasting is considered broadcasting, so
yeah. I mean, it's filled with stars. It's filled with like a shit ton of talent. I think the guy who created it was involved in Cheers. He was involved in some big show before like this. We talk about Joe Rogan. He's not even in this. I mean, Andy Dick, questionable dude. He's funny in this and would go on to he'd be, kind of famous. Like Phil Hartman's in this. Dave Foley, who is a prolific like sketch comedian and Kids in the Hall. He's great in this. And I do know like behind the scenes when they would get into like writing trouble or something wouldn't like work, Dave Foley was like integral to them doing writing, like rewrites on the spot and almost like rewriting episodes and stuff as they were shooting them. And so I've always thought that was pretty cool. And it's a good show. I mean, I think it just kind of got fucked because of all the big shows that were around and it got put in bad time slots and stuff. But I mean, just having Phil Hartman, Dave Foley, Stephen Root, and a couple of just funny gags every week. That's a winning recipe as it is, but I always think every time I watch it, it's great. It's just like I never became like a regular watcher of the show.
Yeah. And don't forget Maura Tierney.
Yeah, hell yeah. And there's a black lady that's in this too that she's not in this one, but I can't remember her name. She's hilarious in it.
Candy Alexander, who I always had a crush on.
Yeah, she was great in it. It was a great show, but I think sometimes that doesn't matter. We've seen that a lot. Shows get canceled that you wish would keep going, and it's just because timing or money. Who knows?
And we start this episode off with Dave appearing. He's arriving at the news station, and he talks to the security guard, tells him he's the new news director, and he's making small talk. And before heading up to the elevator, damn, can I talk today? He realizes that he's at the wrong building.
Son of a bitch. So he was early. He was just trying to be fashionably late, but then we cut because he runs off and he actually gets there. First guy he runs into, not a great first impression or whatever, is his boss, Mr. James. And he's like 15 minutes late at this point. You know, Mr. James seems a little salty about it, but, you know, he's not in that big of hot water. And, you know, Mr. James is kind of telling him, like, you know, you're not the only, there's 35 other people that applied to this fucking job, dude. So you need to ship up or ship out.
Yeah. But you want to know why I thought you were special? And then right as he's explaining that, he gets a phone call. He's like, you know what? I was just about to tell the new guy how I think he's special. This is work related. And Ed Harlow, who's the current news director, he walks in late. And Dave finds out that Ed is the current news director. He follows Jimmy into the bathroom while he's still on the phone. And he tells him, like, I just met Ed. And he doesn't even know that I'm the new news director. So, like, what's going on? Oh, yeah. So about that, he's about to be fired. And I need him fired today. And also, you need to do it. So, chop, chop.
Yeah, that's a curveball. And then also to add just to like the weirdness about it, Ed's walking around, but Mr. James is walking Dave around like the bullpen of this newsroom, introducing him to everybody. And they're like, oh, like, yeah, who are you? Like, what are you up to? And I think because he doesn't want to like tell anybody, he tells him he's like the new sports guy, I think. There's like some lies. He's like, yeah, I'm this new sports guy, like looking over his shoulder to see if Ed's walking around. And he just has to, guess, like lie until he fires Ed, because that's all he can do is fire Ed. That's priority one today. Ed walks into Dave's office, and Ed's like kind of a sympathetic person at this point. He's like, fucking my back hurts. I'm just always working and I'm alone. And it's just like a real sad story this guy's painting. So it's making it even harder for Dave to fire this guy. Because he's like, fuck. Oh, shit. And I think he even tells Ed that he's the new sports guy too. So Ed's fully bought into that lie, at least for the time being.
Yeah, because that's how Jimmy introduced him. You know, he doesn't want to spill the beans. He's leaving that up to Dave. And, you know, while he's in the office with Ed, he asked him, like, so, you know, that's too bad about your back. You ever thought about taking some time off? And he was just like, nah, man, this is kind of like therapy. Coming to work, it gets my mind off of the other shit. So it's like, yeah, man, that's that job there. I'm glad for you. But anyways,
Dave is working with Ed. Ed's got all these issues. Dave's really feeling terrible about this. So he runs out of the office. He has to run. Actually, Ed leaves the office because he has to go to get a backiotomy or some shit. He has to run. Dave actually meets who I guess is his love interest in this show, Lisa, who's like one of the reporters, like veteran reporters. Not yet, but that's where it's leading, basically.
Yeah. And, you know, we get a little cameo from Bill for the first time, played by the legendary Phil Hartman. So Lisa and Dave, they go into the studio, and, you know, Lisa already knows that Ed's on his way out, but she doesn't know that Dave is the replacement. She's got it made up in her mind that she's going to be the replacement because she spends 12 hours a day and night. And she's been doing that for 3 years. She's been putting in the work, doc.
She's the vet. She's like the trusted one of the team. She's the one that actually gives a shit too. That's like kind of her character on the show. So then that leaves Dave in a lurch because you could tell he kind of just thinks she's cool. She's like somebody that's like cool to him immediately. So he goes back to what should be his office, but it's still Ed. Ed's fully on the ground at this point because it helps with his back. Bill comes in, and something that's going on in this episode is there's an upcoming interview with Al Gore that all the reporters want. So Bill's kind of, I think, like giving the cold shoulder to Dave a little bit, but he tells Ed, he's like, look, I want the Gore interview. I'm going to get the Gore interview. And if I don't get the Gore interview, I'm going to start talking as slow as I can. Just threatening Ed with whatever that is. So that's going to be kind of marinating in the background, this Al Gore interview thing.
And as Bill leaves, Ed turns around. He's like, man, can you believe he talks to me like that? Just the disrespect. And as he's saying this, Beth comes back in and she tells Ed, you have 5 seconds to drag your fat ass to the booth and make the right decision about this Al Gore thing. Catherine wanted me to tell you that. Catherine, by the way, is played by Ella Joyce, who was Eleanor on Rock. Even though she doesn't have a speaking role in this episode, she plays the role that would eventually be taken by Candy Alexander.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ed's getting disrespected all this way and that. And finally, that's enough. He's like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not doing this. I'm out. Ed leaves. He's like, you know what? Fuck all this shit. I'll come get this shit. I'm out. Bye. Quits. And Dave thinks his prayers have been answered.
Dave's helping him pack his boxes. Like, oh, really? I hate that you feel that way, man. But you know what? A decision is a decision. Oh, bro, man, I holla at you, man. I might send a prayer your way. And you know, as that happens, Ed gets on the elevator. Jimmy finally comes back and he's like, hey, man, I got some good news. I let him go, but you know, he basically let himself go. So, you know, I didn't really have to do it.
Yeah, he's like, and we saved the set. We did save a little money too. We don't got to pay him all that money. He quit. But Jimmy's like, you know what, dude? Sorry to tell you, this motherfucker quits every week. And I think as he says that, dude walks back in. He's like, hey, Dave, pick my shit up.
Get that damn box.
I like how they make Ed like sympathetic, but as the episode goes, you're like, this guy's a fucking douchebag. You know, like by the end, you're like, fucking fire this fuck.
Just do it already. And Ed is played by Kurt Fuller, and he has a prolific career, a character actor in a lot of stuff we grew up watching. But I'll always remember him as the heel, the villain from No Holds Barred.
Damn, he was that. I was going to say the cop in the Scary Movie franchise. and the Wayans Brothers movies.
And Ghostbusters too.
Yeah, he's been in so much shit. But that guy, you know, Ed's walking around here big dicking everybody again. He's the boss, Steve. And we see that actually immediately after that scene. He's back. Matthew, Andy Dick, is pitching him something. And Ed's like, what'd you just say? He's basically just like treating him like shit. He's like, hey, you know what? Thanks for the idea, Matthew, but
it's a stupid idea. Shut up. Go sit in the corner. Get out of my face. With your dumb nose and glasses. Stupid.
But Dave sees all this, takes Matthew aside, and is like, hey, man, it's cool, dude. This shit ain't going to last forever.
Hey,
let me tell you
something to share with you. Yeah. I'm about to replace him anyways. You know, I wanted to keep it to myself. I didn't know how to break it to him, but you know, since he just pissed you off, hurt your feelings, I figured you might feel good hearing this news.
But don't tell anybody, okay? Please keep it on the down low. But he doesn't keep it on the down low, Steve, because everybody has to know. And seconds later, I mean, literally, I don't think Dave took a sip of water before you could see people like crowding around him like fucking ants. And they were just waiting like, hey, you going to go in there and fire him yet?
Like, you should do it now. Like do it now. How about now? Because you should do it now.
I like Beth's like, Dave, it's like prison. You got to whoop someone's ass the first day. Fire this fuck.
Bite somebody's face, you know, just to prove a point, you know? You can't be, you know, the new fish out here.
But as he's like, Dave's trying to like get into the double dutch, Ed walks in and is like, hey, you got to go read the sports news because you're this new sports guy. Because Ed's still under that delusion. So Dave's like, oh, okay. And he puts on all the stuff. And he's like, I think Bill's like, hey, man, do you need any help? Like, do you want me to do it? He's like, I took a couple of classes, Bill. I'll be just fine. But he gets on I mean, basically just starts spitting and spattering out there. He just loses it.
He's testing out the mic, and unbeknownst to him, he's already on air. He's just like Philadelphia, 76er, oh, Philadelphia. And Bill points it out to him like, hey, you're on air, bud. And he's just like, oh, and back to Bill.
And I love Edge, like, just comes over, is like, dude, what the hell was that?
Dude, you suck. I don't know why Jimmy hired you. You know what? You're fired. Get the hell out of my face. Just like Matthew. Get the fuck out of here. Go, yeah.
Dave's like, cool story, man. Let's go talk in your office real quick, bud.
And everybody's just like, ooh, I want to see.
But we don't actually get to see it, you know? You don't really see it. We just see seconds later. It's like a short meeting, you know? And Bill comes up, tries to say something to him, but like is trying to like manipulate him. And Dave right here, he gets his big dick energy and is like, hey, Bill, fuck off. Lisa's doing the fucking interview. You're shutting the fuck up. Respect this. I'm not going to be manipulated. I'm the motherfucking boss. He doesn't say it like that, but that would have been awesome too.
I was in Kids in the Hall, ho.
Yeah. Bill respects it. He backs down, Steve. He backs down. He backs down the ledge. So Ed leaves. He's got his little box, but he's kind of got a little attitude. He's like, you know what, guys, fire me. That's cool and all, but I got a buddy over at WXYP. Told me, standing opportunity, I can fucking go whenever I want. I got the new fucking news job over there, so suck on this, sucker. And he just leaves.
Tom Novacek? Yeah, you know Tom Novacek. That's the dude that's running everything across the street. I'm about to go there because me and him, we BFFs. And he leaves, skedaddles, and you know, right after that, they're just like, yeah, man. Thing about that WXYB, they shut down like 3 months ago. Yeah, they haven't been the same since Tom Novacek passed.
Yeah, dude needs to fucking check his contacts. Ed's out of a job, out of a buddy too. That's tragic. That's unexpected. And then later, we see Dave talking to Mr. James, and Dave's like, hey, Mr. James, I get it. This is a whole like test, right? This is like the game, you know, like you're just trying to test me. This is all mental warfare. Again, at least in this interpretation, Mr. James seems like some kind of business savvy like genius, because he's like, hey, maybe it was, maybe I wasn't. Maybe I, you know, who knows? But I gotta go. He doesn't give him an answer. That's business 101, Steve.
Cerebral assassin, man, like Triple H.
And Dave also sets the stage just to get a little closer to Lisa, because he's talking to Lisa and he's like, you know what? You would have been a great news director. I just want to tell you that. I hope there's no hard feelings. It is what it is. And she's like, no, I thank you. I appreciate that. And I think I will be a great news director when you're fired in like 3 months. So, you know, thanks for keeping the seat warm, bud.
That's something in your eye. I think an eyelash got caught in it.
See, dude? She's just scheming. But Lisa, I get it. Lisa's a little sexy little minx. And this show, a great pilot, dude. We don't even get all the players in it right away. You know, there's going to be a little recasting, but I mean, I enjoyed it.
Not bad. Like I said, I think I appreciate it more in hindsight, you know, seeing how everything played out. You know, by this time, Phil Hartman was already a solidified legend just from his SNL stuff. Same thing with Dave Foley, but, you know, he would go on and do other projects. He was in the last season of Fargo, actually, which is really good.
I mean, he's been in a lot of stuff. You know, he was in It's Always Sunny. He does little cameos in that. He'll show up. But, I mean, I remember giving Newsradio a chance because I saw Dave Foley. And I had been watching Kids in the Hall and Comedy Central and stuff as a kid. So, I mean, dude is a legend. And, you know, rest in peace, Phil Hartman. He's great in this. It's exactly what you want. It's Phil Hartman playing a radio DJ. What could be more perfect? The golden voice? Jesus.
And I think losing him, I think that kind of led closer to jumping the shark, man, because he played an integral role in this show.
Well, and then they replaced him with an unlikable John Lovitz, you know?
Yeah.
Just can't like it. It's not going to be the same. Even John Lovitz is fine. I mean, I shouldn't have insulted the dude, but it just is a tough, even if you like the show, losing Phil Hartman, it's just like, I'm good.
Big shoes to fill, man.
You have bad breath caused by gingivitis. You couldn't get a porn star off